Hey, hey, hey! It's the Hoops Boys podcast with your host with the most, James the Jet, and America's favorite bitch ass white boy, CProc. Partner, we've had two blowouts, followed by two blowouts, and then a gem of game 5. Is the series actually started now? Or are we going to have 3 gems down the stretch? Or maybe we don't even get 3 games. Maybe Milwaukee just decides that they're going to close it at home. What's our feeling so far in the NBA Finals?
Um, I totally agree with you. Two like straight flat out wins by the Suns the first 2 games, and then Milwaukee came back with counterpunch and did the same thing to them on their home floor. Game 5 was like you said, very interesting. I was tuned in the whole game. It went down the stretch to the very last turnover, you know what I mean? Bucket to like clinch the game. Definitely one of my favorite games this whole playoffs. But I don't know, man. I pray that we have another 3 games like that. But the way Milwaukee's been playing the Suns after they got to their home floor, it seems like they figured them out. They neutralized Ayton. He was a factor game 1 and 2. But by game 3, they like totally got him out of the game. And now even they have Giannis guarding him. And I think that's like maybe not so much on when he's on the offensive end, but on the defensive end when he has to guard Giannis's constant attack every time they come down the ball with the play, or he's getting put in pick and roll with him and Chris Middleton. That seems to have been destroying the Suns. And they're also hunting Chris Paul. Chris Paul is not a terrible defender. He's a really good defender in my eyes. But
Just
when you're
old.
getting a little old and a little small, you're getting switched off to a 6'7", 6'8" Chris Middleton, or Giannis, or Drew Holiday, who's a big guard. He's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". They're really hunting and punishing CP. So I don't know. I hope that the Suns pull the game out so we could see more of a good playoffs that has been, get to game 7. But I think Milwaukee kind of got these guys figured out. They know how to attack them. And it seems to have been working. Have been working so far.
Poor Monty Williams. He had a lot of love this year, being the coach of the year and being able to make these pieces work with getting a legit point guard in there. And now he's kind of getting outthought a little bit by Budenholzer, the Popovich, the former Popovich disciple.
Yeah.
Before we dig into the inconsistent Suns production outside of Devin Booker, of course, he's easily MVP if Phoenix can come back and take this.
I agree.
I have always been a big fan of Chris Middleton. Excellent defender, long, can run up down the floor, very good shooter. He had a little bit of a inconsistent scoring output in this series. He came out big in game 1, and he had a big performance last game, but he was kind of hit or miss in the games in the middle of the series. Like, is there a reason for what you've seen for why Chris Middleton's been a little up and down?
I don't know. It's hard to say because the Suns are definitely zeroing in on Giannis, which it should be open season for Chris Middleton. He should be feasting. And like you said, some games he's really taking advantage of getting a lot of one-on-one opportunities. But like he's been very inconsistent. I think now they found something that works. Like I said earlier, they're every time Chris Middleton is the main ball handler and they got Giannis off the ball, they run a pick and roll and he gets downhill and something that could be created out of that, or they try to find wherever Chris Paul is and they get Chris Middleton switched onto him and he's gonna he has the ability to shoot over Chris Paul. And I think that's really been working. Chris had a really good game 5. He had a 40-point game in the series, and I think we're going to continue to see more of
that. If he can close down the stretch, if it wasn't for Giannis playing out of his freaking mind, Chris Middleton would be getting some MVP love. But that's not the freak came back from that injury with quite a power punch. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, he has to chill out, man. They're gonna blood test him soon because I don't know, that man is he's really owns that name.
The
He got that
freak.
name like, yeah, it's legitimate. It's not like some made up thing. He's really a freak.
Now, going back to Phoenix, as we've talked about, the series had been very much the home team, home court advantage before Game 5, and I personally didn't think going into Game 5 much would change. I think, okay, well, this is back to Phoenix's home court. Phoenix has dominated 2 games in a row. Let's see if they can keep that going. And sure enough, Milwaukee came out, wanted to punch him in the teeth and fight a little bit, and got a little chippy at the end, went back and forth a little bit. Phoenix made a couple runs to get back into it, but they Milwaukee pulled it out. And Phoenix now dropped those 2 games in Milwaukee, got really smacked around, and then they had this real devastating loss in Game 5. Just looking at the Suns' output of the 3 stars, you have Game 1, Ayton only got 10 shots, but he had a double-double. He almost had 20 rebounds. Booker probably is, well, outside of that horrible Game 3 he had, probably his least effective night. He didn't shoot very well in Game 1, 8 for 21, didn't score 20. He's had 6 assists, but went to the free throw line 10 times. But probably other than the free throw line, there's not much positive in this line score. And Chris Paul, 17, 9 assists. That's kind of just Chris Paul, so they probably just relied on Chris Paul too much. Now, Game 2, Booker poured in 31. Chris Paul poured in 23. Ayton had a double-double. Not a lot of points, but not shooting very well. But they still enough of output to close that one out. Game 3, this was Booker's really terrible game. Shot horrendously. Only scored 10 points. Chris Paul 19 and 9, pretty steady. DeAndre Ayton 18 and 9, steady, back to being his steady self. Then Ayton didn't score hardly anything in Game 4. Only 6 points, had a lot of rebounds, but only got 9 shots. Chris Paul only had 10, not a lot there. Devin Booker was Superman, put in 42. Last night, Booker was Superman again, dropped in 40. Chris Paul had a double-double. DeAndre Ayton had a double-double. So what's the these 2 games that they probably consistently had? Well, I won't say that. Yeah, they're kind of getting this mixed bag of tricks of production from their 3 stars, and what does Phoenix need to do to rebound from that crushing Game 5 loss and come back and take the series and the championship?
I personally think, good question, by the way. I personally think that they need to get Ayton more involved. Like you said, he's not touching the ball enough. You have the point guard, quote unquote, the point guard, and Chris Paul. Let him work. You know what I'm saying? Let him get that pick and roll between him and Ayton going like crazy, where Milwaukee has to make an adjustment, and now let CP pick them apart by hitting the shooters, because they have shooters all around the floor, and then you have the ultimate escape valve in Devin Booker if we get late in the shot clock and we have to get a bucket. Now, CP can do it himself, but you also have Devin Booker. I think Ayton is the key. Milwaukee already size-wise, they're a way bigger team than them, and they're not afraid to play big either. So the Suns, they got to rebound better, but I don't know if they're going to be able to achieve that with the size that they have. Them losing Dario Saric really hurt them, because he was a big guy, he was a big body.
If you had a choice, would you rather have the creation of their offense be more in Chris Paul's hands, working that pick and roll using Booker as a decoy and an outlet pass option, or would you rather have the ball more in Booker's hand because he's kind of turning into the face of the franchise route, take advantage of him, let him be the man of his maturation?
I like both options, but for right now, like if you do, I think they've been doing that. Booker had a bad game, and then the very next game they let him like, Book, go off. Like we're looking for you. We're going to feed you the whole game. We want you to have 40, 50 points this game. And they've been doing that for the past 2 games, and I don't think it's going to work. The Suns are the most dangerous to me when CP has the ball in his hands and he's able to orchestrate. Because if Devin Booker has the ball in his hands for the majority of the game, or they're running plays specifically for D Book, CP is now basically relegated to being a spot up shooter. You know what I mean? And that's not
his game.
That's not his game. So let CP do what he's supposed to do, be the point guard, and D Book. He's gonna find him. He's gonna find him. Just let the game come to you. We don't gotta force anything.
That being said, if CP can get Booker going for 40 plus points the next two games, is that a necessity? They need him to go off, or is Ayton not quite there to fill those type of points, or is Ayton, as long as they get him shots, can he put in another 30 points to complement Booker?
That's a good question.
He's also going up against the Freak.
He's also going up against the Freak, but in the beginning of games with Milwaukee and Phoenix, they're starting Brook Lopez. Milwaukee is. So while Brook Lopez is in the game, hunt him. He cannot guard the pick and roll, especially between him and CP. Or even if not CP, Devin Booker and Ayton, run that until they get Brook Lopez out the game. And then now the Freak is there. You could still run it because maybe you might get the Greek Freak in foul trouble. It's simple to me. Just run the pick and roll until it doesn't work.
You heard it. You heard it here.
That's
Phoenix,
what they have to do.
Phoenix wants to win. Get Brook Lopez out of the game, and then make Giannis put in his effort on the defensive end instead of
You see how tired Giannis was on last game,
like he's doing. Honestly, Giannis has been amazing.
Was last game.
Yeah, he's tired of carrying the workload.
Nah, yeah, for sure.
Come on, Chris Middleton, put up another 40.
Yeah, that's what they need. I would run the pick and roll until Giannis is like panting on the side of the court. That's how bad it's going to be.
Now, being that he is such an exceptional defender, do you think that will neutralize him if they just make him run around against smaller players? Or is he just such an exceptional player, a defender that he'll be able to hold up with them, and that might actually help because a little player is not going to body him?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, because last night I did not think that he was going to run that outlet to go get that alley at the end of the game. I didn't think he was going to do that because how tired he looked
the exclamation point at the end.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to go get that. He still went to go get it. I'm just like, nah, this guy is crazy. Like, he was just on the side of the court, hands on his knees, huffing and puffing, like looking like he's spent, like he doesn't have anything left. And then the very last play.
And finished it from behind the basket.
Yes, and got pushed and finished it from behind the basket. So I'm just like, I don't know. This guy might be like, how Russell Westbrook has that boundless energy. Like he doesn't stop coming. Like no matter what. Like he has the same energy from the first quarter that he had in the first quarter in the fourth quarter or overtime. I think Giannis is of that ilk too. Like he's built just like that. He's just 7 feet tall. But yeah, that guy's an animal, man. Hats off to Giannis.
Oh, he's going. They can close this out. He's going to have a nice extra trophy to put on that mantle.
For sure.
Well, kids, we've certainly talked about the stars enough. Let's talk about the players that are helping their lives, or maybe not helping their lives, be that much easier as the series has progressed. Keep it right here. We'll talk about the sporting cast in the NBA Finals for the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns. Hoops Way Podcast. Stick it with us.
Welcome back to the Hoops Boys Pod. It's your host with the most, Jet, and my boy CProc. And now I feel like the star players, the top dogs of these teams have been getting a lot of love. But right now we want to get into the others. You know what I mean? The other players on these teams that are making a difference, game in and game out, helping their team win a championship this year. So CProc, let's start with Phoenix. Who do you think on Phoenix, an other that is making a primetime difference for that Phoenix Suns team?
and he's bounced around a little bit. He made a name for himself with the Celtics, with the Heat, so people are aware of this character. But I think he's to me, he's starting to like ring the old memory bells of Draymond Green on the Warriors teams, getting under people's skin, being kind of a dick on the court to whoever he's guarding. And that is Jay Crowder. Now he does play undersized, which is fine. It's today's NBA. You could power forward to like 6'4" now.
Right.
So Jay Crowder, to me, he's giving them they're a team like DeAndre Ayton could be. He's got a big center. He's a big body. He could be a real tough guy if he wanted to, but he's still kind of finding his own a little bit. Booker's a very flashy player. He doesn't want to mix it up. Chris Paul, used to mix it up a little bit, but he's also getting older now. He doesn't want to do that as much. So they kind of don't really have an edge. And I think Jay Crowder's really provided that. He's given them a bit of an edge. And he didn't really do a whole lot in game one. Now, granted, they won, but he didn't hit a single shot from the floor. Grabbed 9 rebounds, but only put in that moral victory of 1 point on the final count. But
that 1 point was important.
Yeah. But since then, he's been playing pretty well. He had a double-double in game 2, hit 3 3-pointers. He had 18 and 6 in game 3 with 6 3-pointers. Jay Crowder hit 6 3-pointers. Who are you, Steph Curry?
Right.
if he's hitting 6, Steph Curry should hit 20.
Right. Easily.
Yeah. 15 in game 4, 15 and 8 in game 4. He had another. He didn't shoot well overall, but he only shot from outside. So he's hit a few threes. And then game 5, 10 and 5, had a couple threes. So a little bit less production like that. And considering that they lost, maybe they could have used him to step it up a little bit more like he had been the last few games. But I mean, I just think the toughness that Jay Crowder's provided, that kind of feeds onto your teammates from an extra standpoint of leadership. And he's providing an extra option from deep, so they don't have to. So Milwaukee can't load up on Booker, the Cameron boys, right. whoever else is standing out there, threes, Mikal Bridges, whatever. So I just think Jay Crowder's been such a extra edge to them, and playing well, shooting well, scoring a decent amount, considering he's no higher than 4th on their scoring on their kind of depth chart, if you will. As far as top dog billing, I mean, I think he's been a significant contributor, and even in the previous years, I mean, he was getting under people's skins against the Hawks.
Yeah, he sure was.
He's really pissing people off. So I really think he's kind of bringing back some of that energy that we got to see from Draymond during the Warriors runs.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He's like fitting that mold, but the way he's been shooting, like you said, he hit 6 threes in a game. Draymond, I don't think Dre ever shot as well as he has. He's shooting like 60-something%, almost 60% from 3, and that's crazy for Jay Crowder to be doing. I never would have not in a million years, but I didn't see that coming.
No.
Yeah.
That's like your old pal Jeremy Grant last year.
Right, like what the? Well, I have a player on the Suns that I think is making a big difference for them in the 2 games that they've won. I'm gonna go with Mikal Bridges. Not only is he an excellent defender, they have him guarding Chris Middleton mainly, and maybe that's a reason for Chris Middleton's inconsistencies throughout the series. And also he's hitting the 3-ball at a high clip, and he had some really big games in this series. He had a 27-point game. I like Mikal Bridges. His arms he's very long, tall. He's reliable from 3. I like everything he's been doing in this series.
They those two him and his brother down in Charlotte too have played well a lot this year too. They could really become the new NBA brother tandem that.
I didn't even know they were brothers.
They are? Oh, maybe they're not. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Don't mind me if they are. And anywho, continuing on, ignore me, folks.
Oh man, let's we showing some love to the Phoenix Suns, other players that have been making a huge difference for them. But let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. A player that I want to highlight. Um, this was tough for me because I feel like both these players that I'm going to name have both been making a huge difference. Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis. Pat is an excellent offensive rebounder for his height. He's very reliable from three, and he's tough on the defensive end. Um, some plays he's getting switched on to D Book, and you know you can't really stop D Book, but he's it's not like he's getting shook and lost and getting jaded in his face every play. He's really playing really heads up defense. And Bobby Portis is another player that's a tough defender. He can hit the three ball, and he's a really good rebounder. And that's another facet of Milwaukee's game that is really causing the Suns fits is their rebounding, and more specifically their offensive rebounding. And I think both these players have been contributing to that fit that the Suns can't solve. So I think those two guys are really making a difference for that team.
That's going back to the whole toughness angle too, because I mean, and Milwaukee, conversely from Phoenix, is not necessarily a team that lacks toughness. Giannis is a multiple Defensive Player of the Year award winner. Chris Middleton's an exceptional defender. Drew Holiday gets in there a little bit, so they're not lacking toughness.
No,
from their front top line star players, but guys like Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton, when they're maybe that's kind of that leadership reading down. Like, okay, if the A dogs are getting in and chopping it up, then we got to too. And that just adds into it, and it kind of makes life miserable for the opponent, especially a team like Phoenix who likes to get on and run and do things fast, shoot a lot. When the stars from the Bucks come out, and it's kind of cliche, it kind of was cliche to say, but hey, it still works. The stars come out. Phoenix thinks, okay, we're gonna catch them a little off guard now we can get out and run again. But the backups for the Bucks come in and they're just throwing elbows around just the same.
Yeah, and still committed, highly committed on defense, still attacking the offensive players. It's really good to see.
That's kind of Budenholzer being a old Spurs guy. Is this kind of his kind of comeuppance for how it didn't really work out in Atlanta? Now he's in Milwaukee, and they finally got to this level, although they took some lumps the last couple of years, some playoff disappointments. But they, now they're on the cusp of this championship. This is kind of like his comeuppance to, okay, this coach is a player now.
Do you think, because in those early, like the bumps in the head, right? They had Eric Bledsoe at the helm. Eric Bledsoe is a decent player, but for them to get Drew as an upgrade is, you know what I mean? That's
more
big,
steady.
man.
He's more steady, more committed to his role. That actually is a very excellent point, because Bledsoe's kind of everyone's favorite hacky sack to kick around. Everyone hates Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't exactly do anything to help his cause, because no matter where he goes, he doesn't exactly, contribute, or he gets hurt.
True.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything to elevate the teams he's on, and then he gets hurt. So it's not, to dump him and bring in Drew Holiday is really something about the Holiday boys. I don't know what those. I don't know what their parents put in their Wheaties, but they're all pretty tough.
Yeah, they're all tough guys. Especially Drew, man. Drew is excellent on the defensive end. Excellent.
Yes. My last point.
No, I was gonna ask you. Like, I named my Milwaukee guys. Who do you have in mind?
He's kind of a bum. Like, if you let people, if you let people draft a full NBA roster, how many players would have to cycle through before you get to PJ Tucker?
Wow.
How many players do you have to cycle through to get to PJ Tucker?
A lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow, not only is he on an NBA roster, he's on a team in the NBA Finals. He's been starting for them this whole time.
Yes, he has.
He's been getting under people's skin. I mean, you go back to, Durant was doing everything he could to keep the Nets afloat despite those injuries, but I think it probably definitely helped helped them kind of push themselves across the finish line, just getting in KD's head, and even though he was still putting up points, kind of make him all kind of screwed up while he was going this whole time.
Right.
But he hasn't really been scoring a lot this season. The most he scored is 7, and not
a
much.
Strong 7.
A strong 7. Got that touchdown, that extra point, baby.
Hey.
And hasn't done too much in the last 2 games, and he's guarding Booker. Booker's for the most part has been lighting it up. So
light him.
What's the phase on PJ Tucker is the kind of he made a name for himself getting under Kevin Durant's skin, and now it's kind of okay. Your time is over. Back to the doldrums where you rot. Or is he still like a consistent contributor to a legitimate NBA champion team, or maybe even champion if this thing ends the way it's going right now?
Right. I think he's a legit contributor. I mean, you look at what he was doing on the Rockets, right? He was one of the main reasons why they could do what they were doing, is because he was an undersized 4 that can guard every 4 and rebound, you know what I mean, and hit threes. Like he was a main integral part to what they were doing, and he's not asked to do as much on Milwaukee. But he's out there guarding the best offensive player on every team. But it doesn't matter. It don't matter how tall, short they are, how fast. He's out there guarding, and he even made Devin Booker have 1 bad game this series. You know what I mean?
Even that, yeah, that's true. 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 ain't bad. Poured it in heavy the other 4, but hey, you shut him down once. That's all we needed.
One time. That's all you need. But shout out to PJ Tucker. There was an interesting stat about him, right? This playoff series. They said every team that he played this series had an ex-Rocket player on it, and he sent them all home. Now, the ex-Rocket player that he played with is CP on the Suns. So if he beats him, it holds true. Like he beat every Rocket. You know what I mean?
Oh God! Just what? It's just gonna make the Houston faithful feel that much horrible for giving up James Harden for nothing.
Right.
And James Harden attitude in general as things didn't exactly finish that all nice and fluffy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of switching teams, in our next segment, we're going to be talking about the coaching carousel. There's some new faces on some new teams, and we're going to see what's going on. Keep it locked. Hoops Boys Pod.
Welcome back, boys and girls. Let's take a trip around the sun or a trip around the coaching carousel. Let's talk about some. I know it was a horrible dad joke. Let's go. Let's start off with some of the latest news of that the league guys changing seats at the front of the bench. There's 2 that were kind of big names in recent memory. One is Rick Carlisle, going back to his old stomping grounds. He was in Dallas a long time, won a championship, finally got a championship to Dirk. Finally got a championship for the player we'll go into next. But before we do that, Player. I'm sorry, coach. Anyway,
Coach. Nah, you said it right though.
the
I know what you meant.
the he's going back to his own stomping ground is Indiana. What do you is Rick Carlisle is the tough as nails Rick Carlisle what the Pacers need to they kind of bailed on this Raptors coach this old Raptors coach very quickly. Is Rick Carlisle the guy to kind of get the Sabonis and crew turned around and get a fire lit under him?
I think so, man. I think the old Raptors coach. I don't want to butcher his last name, but I'm gonna call him Nady Boy.
Nady boy.
Nady Boy.
Nady B.
Nady B. Like I think they would have ran it back with Nate, but once Rick Carlisle was on the board, they were like, "Nah, you got to go. We need Rick." And like you said, Rick used to coach there before, and now he's back. He has a young star player in Sabonis. I think he's going to be able to turn that team around and get them back competing, at least competing to be in the playoffs or even the championship if they could build the team correctly.
I think he's gonna really like coaching not only Turner, but also we alluded to them being the siblings of Drew before the Holiday Boys. Those guys, those kids are tough, and Turner's just this big body in the middle, a big tough center, huge big defensive presence. I think Carlisle's gonna like coaching the three of them in particular, and really craft that team where Sabonis can just kind of flourish and do his thing and not have to worry about doing all this extra stuff to carry the team because they've got so much talent, so many role players that they could just kind of fill in, do their thing, and let Sabonis just be the star. You know what I mean?
And they also have another young player that I like, Karis LeVert.
You do like him?
I like him a lot, man. I think Rick is gonna have him. He just came from coaching. Luka, thank you. He just came from coaching Luka, and not to say that they're the same caliber player or anything like that, but I feel like he knows how to nurture a player like that and get him playing like the way that he can envision him being like a top guard in this league. And I feel like he could get that. He could get to that point.
Can you imagine if he turned him into like a stud perimeter complement to Sabonis? And this was somebody that was a 6-man in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Like go from 6-man to legit frontline scorer. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's gonna be James Harden, but that is kind of like a James Harden storyline,
Yeah.
6-man behind all these other stars. Well, of course, when he was on Brooklyn, there really weren't that many stars there. But that being said, 6-man, not really getting a lot of love. The locals loved him, but not a lot of national praise. And then he goes to a new team. Now he's got a new coach and turns into a real front line. Can you imagine? That would be quite the little story.
Yeah, I think he has all the capability to become one of those type of players. He's a really good ball handler. When he was on Brooklyn, he did a lot of setting his teammates up as well as doing his own thing. And I feel like Rick can mold him into being like, hey, get your teammates involved first and then go get yours. You know what I'm saying? And Miles Turner, he's been top 5 in blocks almost since he's been in the league. You know what I mean? Every year, if not number 1. So yeah, they're gonna be a really tough out, man.
Now, as far as the other big name, as I semi alluded to, another guy that finally got his championship under Rick Carlisle, Jason Kidd. He's had 2 head coaching stints. Neither one of them worked out too well. Didn't really get the Nets to where people probably wanted them to. Bucks didn't really got them good and competitive, but not really get them off the ground. Of course, Budenholzer goes there and takes them to the finals. But so Jason Kidd goes to the Lakers, playing as an assistant coach, playing behind Vogel, who's just kind of an also-ran coach. I mean, of course, now he's got a ring, so it's not really much of an also-ran, but like a guy that kind of floated around in the middle tier of NBA coaches for a long time before he wound up with coaching LeBron.
Yeah.
and you had to think that was kind of like a reality. I don't know if a reality check, but maybe like a humble pie almost for Jason Kidd. As a Hall of Fame player, got a head coaching job right away. They didn't really work out, and now he's got to kind of eat crow and be an assistant for somebody else.
Yeah.
Going back to Dallas, where he got a ring, playing with an elite. Now he's going to be coaching an elite point guard, Luka Doncic, elite player in general, not let alone just a point guard. Is this Jason Kidd's opportunity to turn it around as his legacy as a head coach? Well, legacy, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think when he was with the Bucks, he really like helped Giannis a lot, especially being like a better playmaker. And Giannis was actually upset when they let go Jason Kidd. He really wanted him to still be his head coach. But although like, fast forward to now, like you said, his coach now got him in the finals. I think Jason Kidd is a player's coach, man, and I think the players gravitate towards him. He'll do anything to win. We've seen it when he was with the Nets and he threw the Pepsi on the floor. Like, you know what I mean? Like the club soda, whatever he was drinking. I think he's gonna do well in Dallas. And it's a story, man. Like both him and Rick Carlisle, which is crazy. They both went back to teams that they had previous dealings with.
Previous successes, yeah.
And previous successes, yeah.
The Pacers' tenure with Carlisle kind of got sour after the brawl, but that was a good team with a lot of talent that really derailed a lot sooner than it should have. So,
yeah.
But you're right with that. And I think they kind of needed. Things were not too good, and the waters weren't too calm towards the end there. So I think getting a new face in there, getting a little bit of a culture change might help stabilize things. People were squawking about Luka not being happy, their head coach bolts. I think this is probably a good move to kind of cool the temperatures and settle down and everything going on in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of worries me, like you said, what's going on in Dallas, because like Rick Carlisle didn't get fired. He's like, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want no parts of this. Whatever's going money ball scheme y'all got going on, I don't want any parts of this. You know what I'm saying? And now he gets to like legitimately focus on basketball. Now Jason Kidd, he's already coming from a spectacle. He was around LeBron James in LA. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is not going to be too much more of something that he can't handle. It might even be less, but
maybe.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I hope it works, man. I like Jason Kidd. I like Rick Carlisle. Both the teams that they're coaching are tough to me. It should be fun.
Partner, it was a bit of a hailstorm up in Beantown. This after the season concluded. What happened up there? What's going on with the Celtics?
Brad Stevens has now become the Wizard of Oz. He went behind the curtain, so to say, and now he's controlling everything from up top as the general manager. And now they hired Ime Udoka. He was a longtime Spurs player and assistant, and he bounced around assistant. What were the teams he was assistant for?
Brooklyn most recently.
Philadelphia
and Brooklyn.
Philadelphia and Brooklyn had some successes there, and now he's the head coach there. Boston has a lot of talent, man. And I think another potential top 5 player in this league eventually in Jason Tatum. And Brad Stevens was a hell of a coach. I don't know about him as a GM, or team president rather. But if he knows basketball, so I think he's going to be able to build that team correctly. They went out and got a center, even though he's 75 years old. They have a legit center, and Al Horford. So we'll see what happens, man. It's exciting.
What do you think about Stevens kind of going out of the well of what he's known so far in his time in the NBA and picking a guy that isn't necessarily from his coaching tree? Now, granted, Brad Stevens came from college, so he doesn't have much of an NBA coaching tree, but Brad Stevens didn't have anything to do with Philadelphia, didn't have anything to do with Brooklyn. and he's not a Popovich guy. So like, what kind of where's the as far as you could see from an outsider's perspective, where's the logic falls in him picking someone that's not that he, for all we know, doesn't really have any connection to this new coach that he picked, his first coach that he's picked in this new role.
That's an awesome question. You mentioned Popovich, right? I think there's some kind of mutual respect between them two. Pop is like the old guard, you know what I mean? One of the best coaches ever in NBA history. And he sees this young guy come from college and he's really got Boston playing, you know what I'm saying, a certain way. And he respects Brad. So I think it may be something like that. Like he knows that MA is from a good tree, you know what I'm saying? Like he's been under the tutelage of Pop as a player and as an assistant coach. So he feels like that's someone that he can trust, you know what I mean? And that's open to take criticism when needed. Because Brad could definitely help. I hope he doesn't like he's not micromanaging. He lets MA do what he wants to do. But I mainly think that's the reason why.
Before we get into the final juicy hire, we want to drill in on a little bit. I just want to tip my cap to Nate McMillan, guy
For
that's
sure.
coached a lot of teams up to a certain level and then gotten sent off before they really took off to go on to do great things. And he took an Atlanta team that was really kind of middling around, didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs, got them to hit the potential a lot of us thought they were capable of, got into the conference finals, big step for the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, when was the last time Atlantic Hawks were at the conference finals?
Yeah.
I mean, for all I know, my memory may just be fuzzy, and they were there during the Joe Johnson era.
I think they might have got there one time with Joe. I think.
But
could be wrong.
I'm just not a big buzzword thing, but just a golf clap it up for Nate McMillan getting the full time gig down in the ATL.
Shout out Nate, man. You got them boys bowling.
Now, a topic we've kicked around a lot lately is what's going to happen with our boy Dame. Dame.
Yeah.
As the kids like to call him.
The kids.
Berto? And there's been some kind of media nonsense going around about whether Dame's going to leave, trying to get Dame out. But they made a couple big time coaching hires up there. What round it up, partner? Who's running the bench in Portland
now? My boy Dame is now called Logo Lillard. You know what I'm saying? But there was somebody that used to hit big shots in clutch moments. And now he's the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, my boy Chauncey Billups. Shout out to him, man. I think it was a long time coming. And not only is Chauncey Billups the head coach of that team, Scott Brooks, who was the Wizards coach last season, or this season rather, still because the season is over, is on that bench as well as an assistant coach. I think they're building a formidable coaching staff. We'll just see what they're going to do with the roster. Dame is a question mark. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough to keep Dame Dollar out there. I don't think he wants to go through another rebuild. He already went through one so far with that team, and they were moving on from the Marcus Aldridge era and Brandon Roy and them. And I don't think he wants to do that, because then you know what happens. What that will remind me of, and I'm a Carmelo Anthony fan. It will remind me of Carmelo Anthony when he, re-up with the Knicks and they got Porzingis. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, by the time Porzingis gets to where he needs to be, you're probably going to be too old to contribute, you know what I mean, to the level that you used to be able to. So I hope if they're like a player away, Portland, then they can make that trade that they need to make that team a legit contender. Or if they're a couple of players away, they just need to move Dame and CJ. You know what I mean? Let them go out and try to have success somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's a great 1-2 punch to sell him on staying. And then obviously remains to be seen what kind of talent, the extra talent they can bring in. But like just from a coaching perspective, that's a hell of a 1-2 punch right at the top, because you've got like you said, you've got the Mr. Big Shot. Dame's already laying claim to being the new Mr. Big Shot. So it's
Right.
got someone that's done what he was doing as a lead guard, calling the shots, and then backing him up is a guy that coached Russell Westbrook for so many years.
Right. And Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone else that just knows how. If Chauncey's head coaching career is a little erratic, there's a bit of a steady hand right behind him, and to kind of like cool the Jets down and get them back in line. And I mean, I think those are both great hires. And Dame, I think it's a lot of media nonsense trying to play up whether he's going to leave right now. But I mean, I think that's a step in the right direction to keep him.
I agree. And Chauncey also is a championship point guard. And also I feel like with his IQ and his knowledge of the game, he could help Dame. Not saying that Dame has a low basketball IQ or anything like that. His basketball IQ is really high, but I think Chauncey may be able to unlock something even more out of Dame. You know what I'm saying? Still, like you said, they need to make some roster improvements. We'll see, man. I want Portland to do well. I want Dame to stay true to everything. You know what I'm saying?
Everything he said about staying and playing for one team.
Yeah, I want to see that again. I feel like we're not gonna see that much of anymore. Like a player that plays for one team for their whole career. I don't think that's gonna happen unless the cap changes or something like that. We'll probably see it. But
thanks, LeBron. Sorry, wouldn't be an episode if someone didn't take a shot at LeBron.
What else we got going on in coaching land?
A couple. I'm a little on the fence about Orlando's hire. Jamal Mosley.
Yeah.
He's been an assistant coach for a long time, 15 years, a lot of time with Dallas. Well after they won the championship, so he didn't get to experience that. He was in Denver for the tail end of Carmelo's stay, so he didn't really get to see Denver really take a next level post Carmelo with all these young players, this depth of talent that they had. And then he was with the Cavs for the period of time up to before LeBron came back. So he completely missed the finals run against the Warriors all those years. So, he's been around. I wish him the best. I don't know anything about him, so I wish him the best. And he's been coaching a long time, so he certainly paid his dues. But I kind of look at the years he was with, the teams he was with, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get a juice out of Orlando franchise that's really starting from scratch after they just traded off everybody this past year.
And I think Orlando had to do that, right? Because what self-respecting coach is going to take a job where they're probably going to lose majority of the games that they play? You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have they're, you know what I mean? If that's a rebuilding situation over there, you know what I'm saying? So I can see why Steve Clifford agreed to part ways with them. You know what I mean? Because he's like, no, I don't want this on my record.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We're losing enough.
Right. and who knows? Jamal Mosley has a, it's high risk, high reward, because he can go in there and that team win 2 games. You know what I'm saying? But he can go in there and win, maybe be right outside the playoffs, and that's an improvement. You know what I'm saying, for the Orlando Magic.
Right. And the other one to wrap up is the son of a legend, Wes Unseld Jr. He got the job in Washington after Scott Brooks has left town, and he's now leading the franchise that, of course, his father was a legend with, won a championship, won an MVP award, was an exceptional Hall of Fame player. So another guy that, he spent a lot of time in Denver recently, so he's been through the Nikola Jokic success era, but don't Other than that, don't know a ton about him. But hey, he's in a place where people at least know his name, if not
Right.
know him. So maybe he gets some juice and some passed down respect from his father's legacy, and maybe Brad and Russie can really respond well to him
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they if they stay.
If they stay, yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, man. I don't know. They might be going into a rebuilding situation as well. Shopping both their players, and it has hired Wes Unseld Jr. to like try to right the ship. Who else better than you? You know what I mean? So it's a story there, and maybe what they need to get over the hump. Okay, guys, that's the end of our coaching carousel. As we await to see the winner of this year's finals, whether it be the Milwaukee Bucks or Phoenix Suns, hopefully we get more than one game. Um,
Hope
and
so.
yeah, oh, so it's been fun, man. We got to cherish what we have left with these finals because after this, man, it's not going to be basketball for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Um, but if you miss us, hit us up on socials at Hoops Boys Pod on both Insta and Twitter. And let's chat. Let's chat about the big plays upcoming, man. Let's see if Jay Crowder keeps being a flamethrower. He's Klay Thompson Jr. Or let's see PJ. Let's see if PJ Tucker can make Devin Booker have another bad game. Uh, and then he'll be what 2 for 6.
Two for
That ain't
six.
bad. That ain't
That.
bad, man. But until then, man, it's been fun. It's your boy Jet and my co-host CProc. Catch you later. Hoops Boys Pod.
Kobe.